As the violent conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has increased sharply, the Middle East is on the verge of all-out war. The Pentagon announced that the United States is sending troops to the Middle East and at the same time reminding all Americans in the region to leave Lebanon immediately while commercial flights are still operating. On Monday, the Pentagon declared that it will reinforce with additional troops to join the 40,000 personnel already stationed in the region, as well as more than a dozen warships and fighter squadrons. The Israeli army has intensified airstrikes on the depths of Lebanese territory. The U.S. State Department has warned all Americans to evacuate as the risk of conflict has risen to a level unseen in years in the past 7 days. The tension has reached a boiling point. Last week, the walkie-talkies and pagers owned by Hezbollah members exploded in a coordinated attack, causing the tension to start deteriorating. On Monday, Israeli Defense Forces warplanes launched fierce bombings on targets across Lebanon, resulting in at least 100 deaths and 400 injuries. Residents in Beirut and other places received phone calls and text messages in horror, warning them to stay away from Hezbollah targets. The Lebanese information minister condemned these alerts as psychological warfare tactics implemented by the enemy. Under the fierce attacks that have triggered calls for international intervention, schools have closed early. The Biden administration has warned Israel that an escalation of the situation is not in their best interests. The United States still hopes to resolve the issue through diplomatic means. At the White House, Biden refused to answer sharp questions about the situation in Lebanon. Later, when he met with Sheikh Nahyan, the president of the United Arab Emirates, in the Oval Office, he only spoke generally about the situation and did not respond to questions about the escalation of tension. Biden told reporters, "We will also discuss efforts to end the war in Gaza and some regional issues. I have received briefings on the latest developments in Israel and Lebanon. My team is in contact with their counterparts. We are working to ease the situation so that people can safely return home. Mr. President, I want you to know that I will continue to be committed to the security of the United Arab Emirates and look forward to discussing many areas." At the Pentagon, Press Secretary General Pat Ryder did not disclose how many troops will be deployed this time or where they will go, he said, due to the heightened tensions in the Middle East. As a precautionary measure, we will send a small number of additional U.S. military personnel to reinforce our forces already in the region, he said. Due to the unpredictability of the ongoing conflict between Hezbollah and Israel and the recent explosions in various places across Lebanon, including Beirut, the U.S. Embassy is urging American citizens to leave Lebanon while there are still commercial options. After Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, the number of troops deployed in the U.S. Central Command increased from 34,000 to 40,000 naval warships are scattered throughout the region, anchored in the eastern Mediterranean Sea and the Gulf of Oman. The United States has only one aircraft carrier strike group in the region, including the USS Lincoln. Another aircraft carrier strike group has gone to the Asia-Pacific region. In addition, there are naval destroyers in the Red Sea and 6 warships in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. According to the Military Times, the United States has deployed 4 fighter squadrons in the region and last month dispatched additional F-22 fighter jets. The Lebanese Prime Minister accused Israel of waging a war of extermination and urged the United Nations to intervene to stop Israel's aggression. Earlier, huge plumes of smoke had appeared at multiple locations in the region, and rockets were fired at areas that had not been previously attacked, with witnesses reporting heavy bombardments. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant confirmed that the Israel Defense Forces are deepening their attacks on Lebanon and hinted that the situation will worsen. He also issued a warning in a video that the Israeli public must remain calm during these days. Gallant further revealed on X channel this morning that he has provided the United States with a situation assessment of the Hezbollah threat. An briefed him on the actions taken by the Israel Defense Forces to weaken Hezbollah's ability to launch attacks on Israeli civilians. He added that they also discussed the broader regional security situation and the threat posed by Iran and its proxies. The Israel Defense Forces issued a warning to the residents of villages in southern Lebanon. If you're inside or near a building used by Hezbollah to store weapons or ammunition, you must immediately evacuate and stay away from the building. Anyone approaching Hezbollah operatives or the organization's weapons will put themselves in danger. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati condemned Israel's destructive plan at this morning's cabinet meeting. He said, Israel's continuous aggression against Lebanon is a war of extermination in every sense and a destructive plan aimed at destroying Lebanese villages and towns. He urged the United Nations and the United Nations General Assembly, as well as influential countries, to stop Israel's aggression. Israel continues airstrikes on Hezbollah. China calls on citizens to evacuate from Israel after the intensive airstrikes over the weekend. Israel launched a new round of attacks on Hezbollah militia facilities in southern Lebanon and called on the residents near Hezbollah's military facilities to leave as soon as possible. On Sunday, the Chinese embassy in Israel called on Chinese citizens to leave the area. The Israeli military announced on Monday, September 23, that it will launch a comprehensive and precise attack on Hezbollah's militia in Lebanon and called on local residents to stay away from Hezbollah's military targets, such as weapons depots. In a press conference, IDF spokesman Daniel Hagar, I said, Lebanese civilians near buildings or areas used by Hezbollah's militia for military purposes should immediately go to a safe area. The military spokesman said that Israel has determined that the Lebanese Hezbollah militia, supported by Iran, is preparing to launch more attacks and has launched strikes on several locations related to the organization. Major General Hagar, I said that Hezbollah is collecting weapons including cruise missiles and concentrating them in multiple places in southern Lebanon. He called on the residents of the area to avoid these locations, saying that Hezbollah's militia has put you and your families in danger. Hagar, I said that this warning applies to dozens of villages in an area up to 80 kilometers north of the Israeli border. When asked by reporters about a possible ground invasion of Lebanon by Israel, Hagar, I said, we will do whatever it takes to safely return the evacuated northern Israeli residents to their homes. Rocket fire from Lebanon has caused damage in Israel. In the past few days, the conflict between Israel and the Hezbollah militia supported by Iran has intensified. The Israeli military said that in an airstrike on Beirut, it killed several high-ranking commanders of Hezbollah and at the same time destroyed thousands of rocket launchers in southern Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Sunday that Israel has hit Hezbollah in Lebanon in an unimaginable way in recent days. If Hezbollah has not understood this message yet, I assure you that it will understand this message. Hezbollah's counterattacks continue. The Israeli military said that in the early hours of Sunday, Hezbollah launched more than 150 rockets and drones from Lebanon towards Israel. According to the Associated Press, some rockets fell near Haifa in northern Israel, injuring at least 3 people and damaging cars and buildings. As the situation escalates, Lebanon may become another Gaza. China urges its citizens in Israel to leave as soon as possible. On September 22, Sunday, the Chinese embassy in Israel issued a statement on its official website, reminding Chinese citizens in Israel to closely follow the development and changes of the situation. Be more vigilant. Be prepared to defend against all kinds of attacks such as missiles, rockets, and drones. Effectively strengthen safety precautions, and not be careless. The statement calls on Chinese citizens in Israel to return to China or move to safe areas as soon as possible in accordance with relevant requirements. Those who really need to stay in Israel should pay attention to local safety reminders in time. Adhere to not going out unless necessary. Avoid high-risk areas and sensitive areas such as the north. Keep communication channels open. And ensure their own safety. Before China called on Chinese citizens to leave Israel, many countries had already called on their own citizens to leave Lebanon, the United States. An important ally of Israel said that the escalation of military conflicts is not in Israel's best interests. U.S. President Joe Biden said that Washington is doing everything possible to prevent a larger conflict. Biden said that his government will do everything it can to prevent a larger war from breaking out. We are still continuing to work hard. On the eve of the annual United Nations General Assembly, Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that Lebanon may become another Gaza. He also pointed out that it is obvious that neither side is interested in a ceasefire in the Gaza war.